And welcome back to the Hot Lap, where we are still in Lando Norris mode. Congratulations, Lando Norris, on your win again. Well done, McLaren. Let's have a look at the headlines that we're going to be talking about today. So, obviously, well done, Lando. We'll be talking about that. Can McLaren now challenge for the championship? That's the conclusions that some people are saying. I think we need a bit more answers yet, but we'll get into that. Also, Verstappen had floor damage. Whether it was thanks to Mr. Bollard halfway through the race, we'll have to see. But that did slow him down. There's a couple of caveats, though, we want to get into. McLaren are absolutely relieved. As in, they are relieved they've won. They've got that lack of win off their back. Their last win, if you remember, was 2021 with Daniel Ricciardo. Sainz penalty, we'll get into that after the race. His 5-second penalty for Oscar Piastri. I agree, unfortunately. Merc failing to deliver again, despite these upgrades and what that means. And Donald Trump at McLaren causes controversy because he's Donald Trump. Him just being there, everyone ended up getting overly excited, let's say. But we'll get into that. Was it right for him to go to McLaren? We'll get into that as well. So let's begin with Verstappen and his floor damage. Now, as we know, Red Bull, they've revealed that Max Verstappen's hopes of challenging Lando Norris for a win were derailed by the floor damage. He found himself unable to match, as he saw in the race, Lando Norris's pace after this safety car restart. The safety car helped Lando Norris get into the lead at least. Now, the Dutchman had put down his lack of pace to balance difficulties he'd experienced all weekend and being uncomfortable, which he was with the hard tyres. But post-race analysis of Verstappen's Red Bull revealed that the world champion had picked up damage to his floors, most likely lap 22, Mr. Bollard. What's interesting, though, is Piastri was really keeping that gap, 2-3 seconds? And arguably, overall, maybe in the slower McLaren, he didn't have as many upgrades as Lando Norris. So does that excuse wash? I don't know. But speaking afterwards, Christian Horner said, I don't think we had a great balance all weekend. Obviously, he hit the Bollard around lap 20, and that has actually done quite a lot of damage to the underside of the car. So we will have a look at exactly what effect that was. Quite a lot of damage, apparently. Now, he said it is a reasonable amount of the area around the left floor. There is a reasonable amount that's missing, and you can see it awfully flexing as well. So it certainly wouldn't be helping. Horner's comments seemed to fly in the face of Verstappen's reaction, though, getting out of the car when he suggested his pace problems had been all down to setup and tyres that he felt had been no damage. I never felt really comfortable with the whole weekend with it, he said. I think on the medium tyres it was okayish, but on the hard it was quite a disaster. And it was because Lando Norris was matching and beating his pace, I think both McLarens, when he came out on the harder tyres. Yes, that would have been after his damage, but once again, Piastri was gapping him. So is Horner telling porcupines? I'd probably want to believe Verstappen a bit more. I do feel outside of any racing incidents, when it comes to lack of pace on the car, I think he's fairly honest. But he was saying Verstappen it was just low grip, tricky balance in the low speed. He said he couldn't really lean on the rear while in the high speed. He was understeering a lot. So when you have these two issues, you cannot balance it out because you're chasing two different things. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Verstappen over Horner there. But let us know. Comment below. Let us know what you think. And if you're interested, like and subscribe for more motorsport news. We cover, obviously, Formula 1, BTCC Rally, and I'm trying to cover IndyCar, and we do a bit of gaming here as well. So the next storyline is, I say storyline, McLaren are absolutely relieved for their Miami win. Yep, a weight off McLaren's shoulders, not just Norris, as their team principal, Andrea Stella. He says Lando Norris' first Formula 1 win in Miami was as much a weight off McLaren's shoulders as it was Norris himself. As we know, Norris finally broke his duck, winning his 110th Grand Prix. He held the record for most times he visited a podium without a win. Yeah, not particularly great, but it was Norris' first win in a motor race in over 2,200 days, having previously claimed 15 podiums before. He admitted that finally, taking his first victory, Norris was a weight off his shoulders. As we said yesterday, we can't talk about Russia no more. But according to Andrea Stella, that could also be said of the team itself, because it was finally able to give the 24-year-old a car that was quick enough to do so. If you remember, earlier this year, he signed a long-term, albeit we don't know how long, deal with McLaren, and everyone thought, oh, is that the right thing? Maybe he should have gone to Red Bull. You know, Mercedes potentially wants somebody, but he put his faith in McLaren, and you know, by the looks of it, it's absolutely been repaid. Stella said, I think not winning was a bit of a weight on his shoulders, but it was a weight on our shoulders as well. Stella continued by saying, we knew as soon as we made winning material available to Lando, he would have delivered. So we felt the responsibility, and I have said that many times, that it is up to us. It's not up to Lando. But credit to Lando, he said. He kept developing over the winter, especially looking at improving in qualifying and delivering laps that sometimes don't have to be 100% when you have a fast car. Just be there. I think he's doing that. And he added, that's a testament for how ready he was. And also, if we look at what he delivered in podiums with a car that sometimes wasn't really a podium finisher on merit, for me, Lando is in a very strong journey. And a journey it is. We'll be speaking about that potential journey and where that finishes this year in a bit. So let's get into this guy here, Sainz. As you may or may not have known, I didn't know at the time, but he received a 5-second penalty for his Piastri incident. They made contact at turn 14 as Sainz tried to pass Piastri for fourth place. It was already at this point a ding-dong battle, with the Ferrari driver blatantly lost control of his rear car, which made contact with Piastri's front wing. The stewards ruled it was clear to us car 55 was to blame for the incident after losing control of his car. They said in the attempt to overtake, car 55 braked late, missed the apex, and in the process lost the rear with the resulting collision. Although car 81 was trying to turn in to counter the overtaking attempt, car 81 gave sufficient room to car 55. I think it would not have been a penalty if Sainz had control of his car, when he obviously didn't when you look at the footage, and had Piastri then turned into that with Sainz having control of his car, it would have been Piastri's fault. But, as they said, Sainz did not have control of his car, ergo he finished behind Perez. But the interesting thing is the standard penalty for this collision is about 10 seconds with 2 penalty points. Now, in light of mitigating circumstances, they therefore imposed a time penalty of 5 seconds, which we haven't seen this year. So Ferrari anticipated the penalty and told Sainz to increase his pace. So he finished 0.1 seconds, I think, ahead of Hamilton, but behind not Sainz, but behind Sergio Perez in the end. So yeah, I think that's fairly fair. 5 seconds is a bit of a head scratcher, but there we go. I guess their logic is fairly sound. Moving on we will to Mercedes. Failing to deliver again. What were Mercedes thinking, says Martin Brundle. That's the verdict, as their customer team McLaren absolutely upstaged them and upstaged Red Bull today. He says Mercedes have bigger worries than customer team McLaren winning in Miami because they just don't understand their W15. So as we know, McLaren, the MCL38, they brought upgrades. It worked very well. Mercedes' best placed driver, Hamilton, was only 6th, and I do think that was a really good performance from him as well. The result meant McLaren put further ground between themselves and Mercedes in the championship. However, Brundle doesn't believe Mercedes will be too fazed by McLaren's win, as they have their own issues to contend with. He said, obviously, there's a customer team that are doing a better job, he said. But I think they've got more to worry about than McLaren at the moment, because they just don't understand their car. Having said that, Lewis Hamilton had a great race. He drove some very brave manoeuvres and overtakes, and his pace was good towards the end. But yes, Mercedes don't understand their car. Now, I appreciate in Miami, kind of an outlier in a way, simply because a lot of people were having issues with the tyres, and the chemistry between the tyres and the track was making it difficult for everyone. I mean, just ask Verstappen. The best team couldn't really get a decent car set up. If this continues, for example, into Imola, a track that we know, yes, we did not go there last year, but we went there for 2022. Mercedes were very average there again. Then I think more questions are most certainly going to be asked from Mercedes, which is not particularly great, is it? Must do better, but we've been saying that it's becoming kind of like a stuck record at this point. I think their 2 drivers are doing absolutely fantastic. The team is trying really hard, but as Martin says, it does appear that they just do not understand their car. I want them to understand their car. I want them to be up there. I want them to be up there fighting with Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari. I mean, that'd be amazing. But alas, I don't think it's going to happen this side of the year. Maybe in the second half of the year we are going. I guess we're just gonna have to see. So Donald Trump at McLaren, yeah, a very divisive person, kind of like Marmite. You either love him or you hate him. And McLaren have had to explain, and I think this is kind of unfair of McLaren in a way, but we'll get into why. McLaren explained Donald Trump garage visit after Miami GP sparking controversy because it's Donald Trump. I think anyone else, and obviously it wouldn't, but McLaren have defended their decision to have former US President Donald Trump as a guest at the Miami Grand Prix, saying they were honoured to fulfil the request to visit the garage. Now, former US President attended the Miami Grand Prix on Sunday, the 77-year-old watching on as Lando raced to his first ever victory. And a guest in the McLaren garage, he met Lando Norris after the race to offer his congratulations. His visit, though, from PlanetF1.com wasn't without controversy. Trump, as we know, he's again running for the office of President of the United States this year, I believe the election is. And he's currently in court battling 34 felony charges in New York, all of which he denies. Innocent and proven guilty, a la Christian Horner. But while partisan F1 fans took to social media to either applaud or condemn McLaren for his visit, the Woking team has had to defend their stance. I think they felt the need to defend their stance. And McLaren spokesman said, McLaren is a non-political organisation. However, we recognise and respect the office of the President of the United States. So when the request was made to visit our garage on race day, we accepted, alongside the President of the FIA and the CEOs of Liberty Media and Formula One. We were honoured that McLaren Racing was chosen as the representative of F1, which gave us the opportunity to showcase the world-class engineering that we bring to motorsport. So by the looks of it, reading between the lines, McLaren were chosen because, let's be honest, they are a great team. They're an up-and-coming team. They've got two really interesting drivers. I can't help but feel that if any other team like Red Bull, Ferrari, Aston Martin, it would still be the same controversy going there. You would just be talking about a different team. It wasn't really a political statement. You are allowed, Donald Trump is allowed to visit teams. I understand why, because of everything that's going on, some people may be upset. But then this is the same Formula One. If you remember during the pandemic, for example, and onwards, that allowed drivers, and understandably, absolutely they should, to kneel and present themselves, with their own T-shirts, like end racism, etc., which are, pretty much positive messages. So I know now the FIA has said, though, they don't really like doing that much. I'm not sure when exactly that came out. It was in the not too distant past. But yeah, you can't stop people visiting garages. But McLaren were asked, by the sounds of it, Trump didn't look like an official guest of McLaren. It seemed to be he was an official guest of the FIA in Formula One, and now they all chose McLaren as the pits. So I guess in that way, McLaren must be like pretty much, yeah, okay, thank you very much. Out of all the 10 teams, you chose us, for example. But I do agree that I don't think sport, and it shouldn't be used for anything political, because it's sport. I think sport, other than, yes, it should raise awareness of issues. It does help to do that, which is good. But in terms of politics, I think sport should absolutely keep out of politics. Either side, no. Raise awareness for issues, yes. When it comes to politics, I think, this is just my opinion, I think very much no. But there we go. So, conclusions then. And Planet F1 have got an interesting article, which I would very much like to share with you. So here we go. I've got smaller a bit. So here we go here. We've got a dramatic race in Miami. So Lando Norris come away with his first Formula One victory. And they're suggesting that McLaren, not Ferrari, are going to be the biggest threat to Red Bull supremacy. They've put only one race, but there's something different from McLaren in Miami that we've not seen from Ferrari. Not only did they take the fight to Red Bull, they left them in the dust. Yeah, in the dust. But the new car that arrived in Miami was downplayed by Andrea Stella, not being that same kind of game changer that we saw in Austria and Silverstone last year. But both the MCL 38s for both Norris and Piastri were lightning quick, and yeah, the safety car did play a role. They said the race they went on to win, and momentum has swung dramatically to McLaren because I think they were so fast in the race. They were, other than take away the soft tyres, they were really, really good on both the hard and the mediums. And it says here, the next conclusion, Charles Leclerc needs to take advantage of big moments. It says there have been a couple of times in Charles Leclerc's career where you've been left wanting while watching on. 2 of those incidents came in Miami. They said from the off, Leclerc had an awful start. Yes, he did. That left him vulnerable. And saw the wonderful Oscar Piastri nip into second. But as the Ferraris queued behind the Australian, Leclerc couldn't find a way to get past him. Then later on, Verstappen was tantalisingly close. And again, Leclerc did not properly bother him. Verstappen himself proved during the Mercedes era that you have to make the most of any opportunity. Yeah, and I think that's, if Leclerc does not win a championship in his career, that will be the reason why. It's he needs. I can't help but feel he needs to be a bit more aggressive and have the confidence to absolutely send it. I don't think if there was a move on and for whatever reason it didn't happen or someone turned in, fair play to Leclerc. I think most people, because he doesn't do it often, would be like, yeah, fair enough, absolutely. So the next one is the FIA needs a rethink as Kevin Magnussen highlights rulebook loopholes. This is something we've been talking about all weekend. Now, away from the front runners, Kevin Magnussen highlighted the many loopholes that exist within the F1 rules. It started in the sprint where he admitted he broke every rule possible in order to keep Hamilton behind and crucially gave Nico the points. They put in the races penalties were less beneficial, including one for ramming Sargent off the road, but it was the sprint performance that the FIA needs to ensure does not happen again. Do drive-throughs. Drive through within 3 laps, that's what used to happen. Done. You get it. You get the person out of the way then, don't you? And for all the glitz and glamour, Miami has yet to justify its inclusion on the calendar, which I think is quite an interesting take. They put, as a venue, there are a few who would argue against its inclusion, with the Hard Rock Stadium providing an unusual backdrop for F1 paddock, but the circuit itself has yet to produce great racing. I think that's slightly unfair. We did have a really good race. Is it hard to overtake? Yes, it is. But I think it should be hard to overtake. How many times have we seen in the DRS, the guy goes in DRS, pulls forward, and manages to take the braking line managed to take the racing line, ahead of the guy they're overtaking before they even get into the braking zone? That is not overtaking. I think it should be difficult. I have always agreed with what Martin Brundle has said, that DRS should allow you to be in a position to overtake once you get to the corner. Now, with car setups, car engines, they're all different. It's very, very hard to get right. I get that. I think Miami kind of had it on the right side of hard, but I still think so. I mean, we saw people we did see people get past. We couldn't see Hamilton get past Perez, but I'd rather have it hard to overtake than really, really easy. Too easy. In fact, I think with DRS. But yeah. So that's pretty much it. Once again, if you want to subscribe, you made it to the end, give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much. This has been the Miami Grand Prix Fallout. Stay tuned. More F1 news, obviously, on the way, including, hopefully, Rally. I haven't done one for quite a while. But the touring car is this weekend. We're going to do our BTCC preview. And so is the WRC event this weekend as well. So, stay tuned. Thank you very much and speak to you soon.